Hi Ali, apologies for this taking so long. Just been a bit mad with interdressage and work at home. So had a look at both the videos and I'm going to go through those with you. I understand perfectly it's always difficult when you've got someone there. I find I get quite tense, you know, if I've got someone else filming me. It's really difficult. So I do absolutely appreciate that. And also that you were therefore a little bit stiff, hadn't got softened up, as it were. So the first walk away is the normal one where you're not trying to do it, and everything after that is you trying to weight your left leg, apart from when it's the all round. So let's have a look at the first video. Okay, so here we are on the first video. It's interesting, the very first still, he's got his left hind forwards and your left seat bone is obviously forwards, down, or certainly down, not sure if it's forwards, and just slightly mirroring that with your upper body, which is probably because you're a little bit stiff. I don't see it later in any of the video, only in this still shot at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, that's a thing that possibly we could have a look at, is in how you are stretched out. So if you imagine in this shot that you lifted your left arm tall to the sky, and then just took yourself very slightly over to the right so that you stretch out a bit like a horse bending on the circle. You stretch out that rib cage, and you know, then the opposite side with the right hand up. But you know, I think it's just at this very beginning it didn't seem to follow on. Yeah, you're keeping your shoulders nicely balanced. And to be honest, from the shot behind, because of Joey's lovely peachy bottom, I can't massively tell that you're not balanced in that left one. But I know from the previous videos that it's very likely that you were. But I'm just going to go back and see if there's anything else that I wanted to say in that one. Yeah, what I think not weighting it does, having looked at the following shot, I think it makes that left seat bone play a little less well. So the right one seems to get moved by Joey, but the left one seems to get stuck and doesn't really enter into things. And I know this is absolutely the opposite to what you originally felt, but you know, we're just going with the visual at the moment, and we'll see if we can make that fit for you in terms of your comfort, because that's the most important thing in all of this. Do not do anything that makes you uncomfortable, either in terms of feeling unsafe or physically uncomfortable. No, it's not worth it for either. So yeah, okay, so but now it's quite interesting. Can you see in that one where your left seat bone, left pelvis does actually seem to move independently with the movement of Joey? So that's quite and especially if this is early on. I mean, it doesn't move quite as well as the right, but it's there. The movement is definitely there. Okay, I've just paused this in a moment. But actually, if you look at your left leg now, this is what I saw a lot in the previous video, where your left leg just looks a little curled back. So, you know, this is what we're just working on, keeping that weight down. Don't force it, don't make it feel hard, but just sort of, you're just reminding that. If I was there, I would put my fingers above I'm feeling this on myself so I can describe it properly. So come to the end of your rib cage on your left side, and then move in towards your spine, on the diagonal line towards your spine, and maybe a hand's width above, say, your belt line, or you know, sort of your hip, point of your hip. I would just put my finger on there. I don't know whether I've told you about the craniosacral friend I have. She's not a craniosacral friend. She's a friend who does craniosacral work with horses and humans. But I like it because it kind of reminds your body that there are bits of it that aren't actually playing right. And in identifying that sort of area above the hip, above the seat bone, between the spine and the hip, it really made me, excuse my dog having a woof, it really made me very, very aware of, for me it's my right, yeah, so that might be worth having a practice. Anyway, the rest of this I felt was lots better. You're so much more balanced. The left leg's still trying to do its own thing, but, you know, not massively. So the roundup for this one is, I prefer the amount of movement you get through your left hip when you're weighting that stirrup a little bit more. Maybe it's just straightening you out in the pelvis area, and perhaps just think about that when you have physio, or, you know, however you're working with that now. I'm going to have a look at the other video now. Okay, here we have Joey in halt, still asleep, bless him. Yeah, the saddle's just a little bit forwards, as you said, but you know that he's got such a massive shoulder. Most horses that wouldn't be a major issue. But actually you're in a nice position. You're beating yourself up a little bit there. The only thing, if I was being, and you know, I'm not, this isn't what this was meant to be about, but I'm just being fussy, I would want you to take your head back a little bit to fill the collar area here, so that it's a bit like the horse softening at the pole. The area where I've just marked in green there is kind of our pole area. And just think a little bit, let's give you another colour, of dropping your chin a little bit, not that low, but that we're talking at the chin area. Just drop your chin a little bit, and what you'll find is that area in the green just kind of tightens up a little bit and lifts, and then you can just take your head just back a little tiny bit. So let's pick a better colour, or a change of colour, so that your top of your head sits right on top of your shoulders, on top of your hips. It goes down to the heel, and then, my goodness, you are really in a super ear, shoulder, hip, heel line. So I don't think there's much wrong with your position or your saddle placement there, really. So not unhappy there. Right, so let's have a look at the moving around you. I will try and pause it when there's something I want to look at. Actually, dropping your chin there, as you just did, was the perfect thing. So I'm going to have a look at you. Just a tiny bit more. Oh, lost it. I wanted to try and catch you there. That's probably the best I'm going to get. So this is you just naturally, and I think well, to be honest, he's slightly under with his left hind, so, but he's quite balanced through his quarter, so I don't think he's actually throwing you up much. Your pelvis and hips and shoulders don't suggest that he is, but that left leg still looks just a little bit disengaged and comparatively to the right one, although it looks in a nice position. So let's continue around. Yeah, and you're going to have to take my word for this. It's only something I can just sense in this area here, that there is a tension more, and I talked in the other video of maybe opening yourself up through your ribs might be helpful, but also I mentioned that area, let me just erase that, I mentioned the area where you can do it for yourself and just press very gently. It's just a reminder. It's not a massage or anything like that. It is just to remind bits of your body, and the area is about here. It could be a little higher, it could be a little closer to your spine. I don't think it would be, but it's literally just up from your hip. And it almost, when I had it, it made my leg jump. It literally made my right leg, which is my bad leg, it literally kicked my foot into position, and it's the most bizarre thing I've ever had. But there was no pressure, there was no massage. It is literally just a reminder of maybe where you need to be with it. So maybe occasionally ride a little, halt, just have that feeling and think, oh yes, I'm just doing it sitting here talking to you, and it's amazing. I don't think I hold my left seat bone, but as I sit here and do that, my body's just releasing into that, and I've dropped my left seat bone. So yeah, it feels really nice to become aware of that area, I think. Okay, sorry, I digress as usual. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. Hang on. So now we're coming around to the left side. Let's just hold it here. And you can see how different, let's put your line in. You can see how different this one is. So if we go ear, shoulder, hip, yeah, there's quite a big difference in that left leg sits forwards a little. So when you weight that stirrup, I want you to think of weighting it down and underneath you. Try not to think of weighting it and pushing it forwards. You might see old-fashioned photographs of people really pushing their feet forwards. So try to be careful not to do that. But again, you know, there's nothing majorly, but what I can sense here is that your left shoulder is just a little more turned in than your right. And that could be that if we can release that left hip a little bit, that will make the difference there. So let's continue on round. Okay, so I'm going to go again with the whole thing. So that right leg, you can see it just lengthens and drapes around him. It's really lovely, that right one. And then we come round to the left, and it just looks quite a little bit more jammed up. Oh gosh, I mean, most people would be happy as anything to ride like that. Yeah, that moves quite nicely when you move. And again, I mean, the amount that you've given me there is quite small on the left rein, but you know, there's nothing really obviously that makes it look wrong. There is just a subtle stiffness, or what looks like is manifesting as a subtle stiffness in that left side of you. So have a little play with that release, that reminding yourself of where bits of your body are and how they should work. But when you're ready to video again, I think we'll go back to you know, the general project balance with Joey, and we'll look at some basic school moves. Nothing too large, because if we go too large, then they're so subtle, the changes. Would be nice to even perhaps think about a moving turn on the forehand from one leg into a moving turn on the forehand from the other leg, because you really sense your imbalance as you move from one rein to the other if you've been shifted over. And the idea of giving you some really light aids, I know this is something we talked about right at the beginning, that you will hardly have to use much leg, that will really get him listening to your leg. Very light cues. So yeah, let me know what you think and where you'd like to proceed from here, and I'll write you the next bit of notes up with how we proceed with it. Anyway, I'm going to upload this and come back to me if there's any questions.